So today, we're going to talk a little bit more about science of mind. What is this philosophy? How has it touched people? And I'd like to begin with a little bit, for those of you who may not know much about our science of mind philosophy. It's a way of life. There is no dogma or particular creed. We do believe in spiritual principles, and those spiritual principles are available on our website. And so we invite you to go to cslchico.org and discover more about what we believe. And today we're going to talk a little bit about our science of mind classes and the path to becoming what we call a practitioner. So I'd like to share with you just for a moment so that those of you who maybe haven't been with us long would like to learn a little bit about the pathway to becoming a practitioner. And I'll talk a little bit about what that means in a second. But we offer these classes, and of course, coming back together in September, we plan to offer more of these classes and some new classes that are being offered by Centers for Spiritual Living. But we have what's called foundations, understanding a little bit more of what we believe and moving a little bit into spiritual practice, which is our form of affirmative prayer, understanding a little more about meditation, understanding more about what you truly believe. What you truly believe is demonstrated in your reality, and how to discover where your beliefs may be off and where you can realign with spiritual truth. Then we also have the history of Dr. Ernest Holmes. He is our founder, and you get to learn a little bit more about Dr. Ernest Holmes and the influences on him back in the 1930s and 40s, when a lot of metaphysics were blossoming. You may know about the Transcendentalists, Ralph Waldo Emerson and Walt Whitman, etc. So you get to learn a little bit more about how this philosophy came out of those roots. And then we have some courses on consciousness, how we can choose our thoughts, and in choosing our thoughts, we can align with a greater understanding of the truth of our beingness and the wisdom that lives within us. And so you can see the consciousness classes and the elective classes. So I wanted to share that just so you have a little bit of context. And now I'd like to invite 4 practitioner interns. I'd like to invite Julie Fisher, Kat Llewellyn, Amy Roberts, and Crystal Lively to turn on their videos and their microphones and move us into a conversation with one another. These 4 women have essentially just completed one part of practitioner training. Practitioners are students of the science of mind who have taken the classes that I've just shown earlier and taken a 2-year commitment to literally bring those spiritual principles into their lives. And I thought that since they have, we all celebrated with them that they have passed their written exam, and they'll be taking an oral panel here in the next 6 weeks or so. I thought I'd bring them online so that we could share a little bit amongst each other. And so I want to start a little bit with each person just saying hi and introducing yourself and how long you've been going to the Center for Spiritual Living, Chico. So Amy, let me start with you.
Good thing I cleared my throat. Well, I'm Amy, and I've been attending the CSL Chico Center for 10 years. And I think I started classes almost immediately. And yeah, it's taken me all the way here.
Thank you. Appreciate that. How about Kat?
I've been coming to this CSL, I believe, since June 2015. So almost 5 years. But I discovered the Science of Mind teachings back in '97 at Unity Center in Walnut Creek. And I studied and had no idea what treatment was. And now I know the book I was reading, and it's great.
Okay, great.
You know,
So 2015 to 2021, 6 years. Okay. Crystal, what about you?
I found the Center for Spiritual Living Chico in, let's see, I think it was November of 2014.
Okay.
So I don't know, 5 or 6 years there.
Okay. Terrific. And Julie?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
I can't get my video to come on.
Okay.
I'm
No
under
problem.
someone else's control. Ask that question again, Kathy. I was messing with my video. Thanks.
It's okay. We're asking, when did you discover, CSL Chico, or if you were at another CSL, when you discovered Centers for Spiritual Living?
I was in Oregon. I was up in Lake Oswego, Oregon. I was just looking. 2014 is when I took my first foundations class.
2014.
And
Okay.
actually not too much long after that, I started working there. So when I stepped into it, it called me strongly. Yeah.
All right. So approximately 6 to 10 years. And so what drew you into Science of Mind classes? I know that, Amy had just said, oh, I almost started classes immediately. For some of you, it may have taken a little more time. People tend to feel things out, come to the center or hear more about the philosophy. But what drew you into classes? And maybe we'll go the opposite direction. So Julie, I'll start with you this time.
I had experienced Science of Mind probably 10 years before that in San Diego, dipped my toes in. And I just knew immediately that was the philosophy for me. That's what I'd always believed. And here it was in these concise little books. So when I stepped back in Oregon, when I, interestingly enough, as life is, stumbled into a new thought center, I was hooked immediately, and I just wanted to know more. And of course, once I started working there, I was surrounded by practitioners and the community, and it was just everything I'd been looking for. So I'm a student, I'm a reader, and I just wanted to absorb as much as I could.
Wonderful.
And I haven't stopped.
Beautiful. And Crystal, you have a little bit of a similar story, having worked for us.
Yeah. And as far as when did I start taking classes, I actually started a class before I started coming to like a Sunday service. So I too am a student, I suppose. And I became aware of the class in the local newspaper, and it just intrigued me. And it was actually the foundations class. So I just dove right in. And it took a while for me to actually come to Sundays. I think I then went to the Science of Mind magazine group for a while. And then I decided, okay, I guess I can come on a Sunday and see what it's all about. So
wonderful. And is there something about Sundays for you particular that I know I'm an ex-Catholic, so when I started out, it was like, I don't want to be every Sunday. Is that sort of what you're feeling?
Yeah, I think that I had lived most of my adult life after my childhood religious exposure. I lived my adult life kind of thinking, I don't need a building, I don't need others, it's between God and I. And so I think there was something that I wasn't too sure about committing to that part of it. But, the classes definitely created a community for me within the classes. So as I got to know more people, it just started to kind of evolve into coming on a Sunday. But I remember Sundays being uncomfortable for a while, but then it changed. Then I was all in.
Connecting with people and then wanting to be with people that you had created a bond or a connection with. Yeah. And Kat, what about you?
Well, I know what I had just said about I got exposed to the Science of Mind at Unity Center, but they're a little different than us. And so when I got here, I could not believe that what I had been studying, I could actually start to understand by coming to the church. And I believe I immediately started taking classes and I did not stop. So I just boom, 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 boom. And here I am. I had talked to you. Remember, there was a little party going on, and I I said something, you said, did you get a calling? Absolutely. And I say the first day I walked into CSL, I saw the V on the wall, and Unity Center had that too. But before I even came to classes or anything, the atmosphere of the church, I knew I was home, and I was correct. I was walking in my truth already by the feeling I got. So I said I signed up to be a member before even having gone to one service. So
The vibration was right. And what about you, Amy?
Let's see. I was drawn to the church because I was in need. And I was drawn to a Sunday service. And my parents had transitioned 2 years prior, and I felt like I was in an emotional coma. And they were religious scientists. So when I walked in the door and Lynn Busby said, "Welcome home," that was it for me. I knew I was back, and I could hear people where the 2 years prior, I couldn't understand anything anybody was saying because my parents were gone. But falling into this community, I heard again, and I could feel again. And almost immediately, John Boyle was stepping down from being the youth director, and Duchess said, "We need a person." So I went into her office and said, "I think you were talking to me." And she said, "Okay, but the board's not going to be crazy about the idea that you haven't had any classes. You start Monday." And so I started with Reverend Kathy and Dr. Johnny Samples and Dr. Randy Tankoff. And that was just so incredibly inspiring and just put me into this flow that just moved perfectly and to right where I am today.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I enjoy all of that. Just warms my heart. So obviously you found your way into classes, and how would you say classes that you took before practitioner classes versus practitioner classes, how would you say it's different? Who wants to go first this time? Then I don't have to pick on you.
I can go first.
Okay.
I was thinking about this. What would I tell somebody that this is different? And having this been my life growing up with religious science parents, there's the most recent edition of the Science of Mind textbook says a philosophy, a faith, a way of life. And I knew that, and I got that. And then I realized that with the classes, it was really teaching me how to use Science of Mind. And then getting into practitioner training, I realized, oh, okay, I was using it and I get it and I know it and it's great, but now I'm living it. And so every class you take and every level that you elevate just brings more. And I can't say enough about having gone through this process of 6 consecutive 10-week periods. You know, you can take a 10-week class, which is phenomenal, and you learn a lot about yourself and the faith and the philosophy, but then you get a break and you get to process or leave it behind or take from it what you needed. But 10 weeks was really solidifying. It was great.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd say,
oh, Kat, go.
oh,
Mhm.
oh,
Go
is
ahead.
that okay?
Yeah, go.
I'd say huge commitment, but priceless. I had said once you get to where you're going, you cannot turn backwards. And it is my lifestyle now. I had already had my spiritual practice going before coming to this church, but now it's absolutely solidified. It is a lifestyle. I love it. I will never turn around. I cannot see myself ever. To me, it's that life is just getting better and better and better. And I know how to make it better and better and better. So why would I turn backwards? So I can't say enough. If you've got it in you to do it, it's like, do it, because it's the best. It's one of the best things besides having children. It's been one of the best things I've ever done in my life.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Julie or
Yeah,
Crystal?
I can't add a whole lot to that, but it is correct. It's a stepping in, a choice of a commitment. The gain is more than you'd ever expect, probably, that the life changes in everyday thought, just every moment thought. Right. I think Oprah said, once you know it, you can't pretend you don't. It's just embodied spiritual practice from a practical, practical is not the right word, but I have gained 5 people in my life that will never not be a deep part of my experience. We were blessed enough to have practitioner Vicki Lopes with us for our 2nd year, and just experience every one of us on the same path in our own way. Again, priceless. Kat's words were just right to the core. It's life-changing, it's life-affirming. Life is easier, smoother. It's a great thing.
Juicy. Crystal, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I felt like I wanted to say what I feel like some of the same things are about classes and the training, just because you do basically start with classes in order to come to the training. And so it is what they've mentioned, that we just have this exposure to each other, and so we create loving relationships and supportive friendships, and just that connection that's so nurtured in a class of any sort, I think, versus Sunday service or any other event you might attend. So I'm a huge fan of classes, because you just get to know people differently or more intimately, and just that exposure to other people exposes you to other possibilities, other examples of how love is expressed, or examples of how anything can be expressed, so it's great to be able to see other ways and places and things happening, and just knowing that each of it is in divine timing. I just know that all 4 of us, were brought to this at the right time, and it will be the same for anyone else.
Thank you. And so as you spoke, Crystal, you actually touched on this, and each individual finds, whether we're talking about creativity or relationships or abundance or health, those are some of the categories that people will actually discover has changed while they go through practitioner class. What in your life has changed since becoming a practitioner? And you don't have to be highly personal, and yet at the same time share with others, when you all say life just gets better and better. How do you feel in that domain?
Well, I'll start. I just, I feel my health has gotten better. And again, I almost wanted to say this about the classes. There are times where you're having a rocky stage, in those classes. You're uncovering old beliefs that you maybe don't want to own up to, but there's a process. And so I've had greater health. A lot of times I've had to experience maybe lesser health in order to bring about greater health, but I'd like to think that I'm cutting that curve off too. And then just more ease and presence in everything, but particularly in relationships. And just, there's been so much change in my life that I could go on for a while, but just a lot of change, and to me, all for my greater expression. So it's really been amazing, I guess. I mean, I'm not going to say it's been all fun, but it's been amazing.
It gets you through the rocky periods and then into a different perspective. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it gives you the truth to hold on to, so it gets you through that time that maybe feels a little less than amazing.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
I love that Crystal said it wasn't all fun. And it wasn't, but it was still beautiful at the same time. It was, I was thinking about this. I don't think there was a subject we didn't touch. I mean, we touched everything, and some of them came up and I thought, oh yeah, I'm good with that. This week's going to be fine. And then it would throw me for a complete loop to the point where I was almost, still dragging it through the next section and the next section. It's like, wow, we really need to look at that and address that. So what has changed in my life? Everything and nothing. And I think I wrote this in our last paper, that everything has changed in the way I feel about it. I interact with it. I understand it and I love it. But at the same time, nothing has changed, because I'm going back to that place that I've always known was there. And it's almost like the statue of David and the marble just being chipped away down to who I am. So everything and nothing has changed.
Beautiful. Love that metaphor. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Kat, I saw you nodding your head.
Well, for me, I had a major health condition coming into this, and I'd say, and I think all the girls can attest to this, that within the past year, my health is greatly improved to the point that I now can go out and walk. We have a walking group now. My creativity, I should say this. So coming in, a lot of anxiety, feeling under pressure, now ease, flow. I'm enjoying my life now. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm free. And then also I was more of a loner in my life, but now like I was saying, I have you girls now. I actually have a group, and I was going to bring this up of sisterhood, which I've never really had because I had brothers and boys around me a lot in my life. But yeah, and the same thing Amy's saying, it's like I'm still me, but I found that now I get to be me more, and the expressing, I get to express myself more, and being in this, for me, I've always been a giver, and I couldn't find the ability to place to give without getting quote taken. I mean, here I'm in a much better, safer community, and I can give, and I get deeply rewarded. So yeah, everything's changed for me pretty much, but at the same time, I'm still me. So
love how you said that dynamic. Just beautiful. Julie?
Guess what just came up for me? I mean, I could give examples of parts of life that I moved through while I was in practitioner training, and thankful for the support. My mother transitioned months after I started practitioner training, and the support around that, and the learning, and the really looking at what I really believe around life, what my real belief is about these things, makes that such a much richer experience. But I think in listening to everything, I've always said I'm an optimist. I've always been an optimist, but I think I'm joyful now. I think I'm joyfully optimistic, or joy is a better expression of how I experience life now. It's a great, beautiful mystery that we create. So that's changed for me, and I love it.
I love your comparison too, because being an optimist doesn't mean you're living in the joy of life. You may be optimistic. That was great. I want to know for each of you, you each talked about it a little bit, since this is a 2-year commitment. How has your spiritual practice changed? And it could be, when I say your spiritual practice, could be anything and everything. How you think, what you do to align yourself each day and inspire yourself each day. How has your spiritual practice changed?
I'll go. I had a spiritual practice of meditation and reading and things like that coming into this. But the biggest change for me has been anytime I'm having issues with my thoughts and getting negative or anything, I immediately go to the spiritual principles and I reconnect, and I give myself a positive, and in the process of that, it's been strengthening my mind more and more and more to be solid in that connection to my higher power source. I mean, that's the biggest one. Just being able to face life, knowing that presence is with me at all times, wherever I go.
Well said.
Big one.
Yeah, well said.
I'll go next. As I said earlier, it felt like I was using this faith and philosophy and not living it. So it was like I previously had my Science of Mind textbook in one of those boxes that said break glass in case of emergency. So I was using it. I knew when to use it. And with this, I've been just doing my spiritual practice in the moments where you wouldn't normally feel it was necessary, like in the shower or driving my car or at the grocery store. Something just pops into my head, and before I realize it, it's a treatment. It's just, the steps, and it just flows and it comes to you, and not in the moments of emergency or needing it or desperation. It's just living it every day. And I love the song at the beginning that said, my life is a prayer that God is praying. And that's what it feels like. It's just a constant thing that's not forced or scheduled. There are times where I'm like, did I do that today? But it comes more easily, if that makes sense.
Yep. Becomes a part of your day rather than an awkward outside kind of checkoff list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree. I would actually almost say 2 years ago, I didn't really have a solid spiritual practice. You know, I'd learned things in class. I worked in CSL, and I belonged, and I was in it. But I think the minute I gave myself the treat of TM training. I'd never been a good meditator. And it is so easy now. It's such a part. But like Amy, you just fall into a mindset that changes everything. You know, really, since we create our own reality, it's all a prayer. It's, you know, everything we do is a statement of who and what we are and how we want to live life. So I fall into it all the time. I'm everything I read and everything I don't watch on TV.
Very good.
Helps me. I've pulled out of a lot of things that don't serve me.
So what you tune into and what you choose to tune out of.
Exactly.
Yeah. Crystal, anything you would like to add?
Well, it's true. It's just that you're living it now, and more than kind of doing it because your class has told you to, or however that is. And it reminded me of an assignment we did have where we were to take a household or everyday task and create it as a spiritual practice. And so I had chose laundry. And so it's just a way of, you know, taking everything you do and creating a spiritual practice, you know, or just living in that consciousness. So I think, and I guess I want to mention that, you know, it's a continual evolution for I think each one of us. So, you know, we've just got to a different place than we were 2 years ago, but I imagine there's still so much more to uncover.
Yeah, you thought you were at the starting line when you took practitioner classes. Now that you're going to be licensed practitioners, you're at the starting line. So this is an excellent segue into, so now that you are becoming a practitioner, how do you envision bringing the self that you all talked about, that you connect to better? How are you now envisioning bringing your truer self, the understanding of science of mind, to the world?
I'll start, and it may be just a simple answer, but on our exam, one of the questions was, it stated, if you're a practitioner 24 hours a day. So this never leaves you. And the question then was about something at your job or employment, and taking yourself as a practitioner into that situation. And I feel like I'm not exactly sure where the future is going to take me, but I know that I'm taking all this with me. And I know that I will have a practitioner ministry. That's one of my focus points for the next year. And but the great part about practitioner training is that I've met a lot of people who did the training but didn't get the license. It's just something that really changes who you are and how you show up in the world. So that's my intention, is just to take it with me in whatever I do.
Yeah. And Amy, you have shared, while we won't get specific, it's a story that people need to come talk to you about. You have connected with several strangers in ways that have really been touching for you and for them, in ways that you would have not have expected. So I invite people who get to see Amy to ask her to tell the stories of a couple people she met during, again, taking classes that really were powerful and meaningful.
Thank you. I would love to tell those stories again.
Who'd like to go next?
I'll go. I definitely agree with Amy. I'm not exactly sure. You all know I'm a musician, and I definitely want to bring the presence into that part when I'm singing, that people will go, what is that? Because it's happened before, but now we know what it is. And, you know, I'm just all about the giving. I've been doing the Tory shelter. I want to do that. What's so great about this is now I just keep going, where can I serve as far as our community here, you know, of the being able to give. And so wherever I go, I'll have that in my back pocket. And so who knows, I'm going where the road takes me.
Excellent.
You know, the opportunities are there, unlimited. So.
And our next book is a heart math book, and Kat has been a part of heart math for a while, as far as the tools and the understanding of all of that. And we will be connecting for sure to after people get a chance to read that book, which is again on our bookmark of the year. We'll come back and circle back, leveraging a lot of Kat's experience on.
I could say. Connected to that, which to me is where the whole community getting involved is, I'm involved in the Global Coherence Initiative, and I've been doing that for 10 years. And between that and this, I mean, I saved my life from the medical condition I had between the two. So I can't say enough about heart math. And then you put this teaching with it. Very
Excellent.
powerful.
Excellent.
I'd like to follow Kat as far as there towards the end. She said she's just, you know, going where the road leads her kind of thing. And I think that's part of what this training has reinforced for me, is knowing I can just trust that my life's going to unfold in this or better ways. And so as far as how I choose to bring my practitioner-ness to the world is still evolving. It's still forming. I am I say in a past life, which was really just before children, I was a product developer. So I have a lot of ideas for products that I think align with Science of Mind. And, you know, I'm just going to be available when things are of need and see where the road takes me, just like Kat, maybe side by side.
Yep. Can't wait to see the products you bring, because I know that you're in good alignment for that unfolding. And Julie?
Yeah, watching, listening for the signs, being aware of opportunities that will open up based on my strengths. I look forward to classes being offered at our center, more classes. I'd love to be involved in that, to support others that are interested in continuing their spiritual education. I vision a women's workshop next year, maybe a workshop, a retreat. I'd love to be part of putting together a women's retreat. There are wonderful things in Chico that I'm just now getting involved in too, with a little more time, less study and more actuality. So interested in supporting Pride next month, and like the rest of us, we just know we'll attract to us what's perfect, and those doors will open and we'll step right through them. It's already happening. Every one of us is having interesting experiences and opportunities just coming right to our doors. So all of that's perfect. It's unfolding.
So I want to tell you all, as your teacher, that I feel honored to have been a part of your spiritual journey. And I know that we are bonded together going forward. Not that we weren't in the past, but just going through these experiences together, that my heart is deeply connected. I'm extremely proud of you. I'm just so excited because you will now bring to our community, again, another expansion of the consciousness of the science of mind, of understanding a life of goodness that continues to reveal itself for greater joy, as many of you have said, and for greater understanding and for greater health, for greater relationships. So I want to thank you all for being open, vulnerable, joining me in this conversation today. It means a lot to have each person being willing to share their hearts and their journeys. And again, I can't thank you enough and appreciate how open you've been and willing to be a part of this discussion today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your courage.
Thank you, Reverend Kathy.
All right.